just like darts, right? When you're throwing that dart, you're trying to be intentional about the bullseye. And that's what Kenya and I are trying to help our audience and viewers to understand, is that we want to hit the bullseye in our relationships of having whatever intimate level that you want to have and connectedness, but it has to be with intentionality, because playing darts, there's a form, there's a practice to hit the bullseye.
Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgens. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you.
Hey, welcome back to Coach Soul. I mean, it's that time of year where snow has fallen and it's cold and the lights are out for Christmas. And it is a time of romantic times because of the closeness of what Christmas should bring to us, Kenya. I mean, I like sleigh rides. I enjoy carriage rides, or just being able to think about a warm, crisp fire, whether you're drinking a hot cocoa, or I sound like Mrs. Doubtfire, with hot cocoa.
I love that.
That type of thing. So what do you like about this time of year for you?
I love the invitation to rush or stop. I love the invitation to see the beauty that you don't see in any other time of the year, the lights, the feel, and soak up this yumminess, or feel like there's so much to do and you spend and you feel spent in the end of the day. So there's a spectrum here, just like in any time of the year, but there's something different when it gets to be, this part of the year, how would you experience that in your world?
When you think about this time of year, I try not to allow the commercialism. So I'm intentional about what I'm trying to do for the moment. A gal that I'm dating, she's like, during, I think, October, when fall hit in September, she's ready to put Christmas. And I'm like, whoa, slow down the brakes a little bit here. I'm not ready to go that fast in my life.
Yes.
I want to be intentional, but I love her spirit of being able to get into Christmas. And we look at, this time of the year, it's relational, but also for me, it's reflective, because to me, not have intentionality, even the best love drifts. Families don't fail from a lack of love, but from the absence of direction. Mm-hmm. And when you think about Christmas, how much does the distraction come on hyper focusing on budgets? Oh my gosh, my outlaws are coming. Notice I didn't say in-laws, because sometimes we feel like the in-laws are outlaws. And so hopefully it's not this kind of a Christmas for you, right? But when I think about love does not grow by accident. It's built by brick.
Yeah.
And that happens through the daily acts of intention that echo eternity. So I believe this time of year should be focused on intentionality, not on gifts, what I'm going to get, but what about being reflective in thoughtfulness? I don't want anything for Christmas. What I want for Christmas is memory of an experience, intentionality, being together with someone.
I love that so much. Listen, off the mic, we were talking about love and relationships. And in my experience, every relationship that I choose to nurture is bathed in love. It just gets to be. I love my female friends so much. Some of them I even call sisters, and then I have not many male friends. I have a few, one of them. Then of course my husband, my children, and all the people in my community that I serve, my clients and the homeschool community and my children and my kindergarten class and all the things. And in the end of the day, if I am not being intentional, and being intentional is a muscle, is a practice, it's exhausting because you're giving so much. And much of the energy that comes out, it's by choice. I don't need to be strengthened, like having my fingers everywhere and with everybody. I don't need to. I can save some for Kenya. I can save for my contemplation with God. I can save for my family and me. And I hope that the word save is not like, ooh, I'm not going to give myself because I need to save. It's not that. Perhaps it's not the right word, but it's a dance of give and receive. And what I call intimacy, right? When you break down the word intimacy, into me, you see. There's nothing more deep in my experience than when I hold hands with my loved ones. It's not even just my husband. Like last night I was hold hands with my daughter and we were cuddling in bed and we were talking and we had the most intimate conversation. Now, mind you, I'm with my daughter all the time. She's 10. With the boys, 13 and 15, it's a different story. Actually, my son just turned 14. So 14 and 15, it's a different story. And she looked in my eyes and said, Mommy, we don't talk like that much. I said, baby, we talk all the time. Now, I got what she meant. Like our hearts are not so open and vulnerable like this all the time.
Right.
And what I heard her saying is, I really like when I have intimacy with you. I really like feeling safe. I really like feeling like we belong together. My prayer is that this podcast goes out, that we plant seeds in the community of every one of our listeners, that the greatest gift is the gift of you, the gift of your presence, the gift of you knowing that the dance of give and receive is a dance of knowing who you are, is a dance of loving what is. And I'm not trying to be poetic. Is something homemade has as much as more value than $100 ticket under the tree in my universe, because it's about the connection.
Right. And if we're going to put a spiritual connotation to it, God can bless a marriage, but he will not build what you're not intentional about holding together. And when I think about that, intimacy begins long before touch. It's the courage to be fully seen without fear or rejection. True intimacy is not found in the bedroom, but it's in that quiet safety of being known and still and loved. And oftentimes for my faith-based clients, I'll use what I call Jesus model to relationships. You have this outer circle, what we call the world, and then you have another circle that comes in. So once you look at a bullseye, now we're coming to the second outer circle of the bullseye. And these is what I call school. So it's a basketball team. He had 12 apostles. And so I'm going to say there's 9 in this circle, basketball team. And then out of this basketball team, you get to know functionality, likenesses, things like that. And you select friends out of that group. So now your circle becomes smaller. So now you have Peter and James, who he was with, that was friends. Mm-hmm. Now you hit the bullseye, and scriptures talks about this is the apostle who he loved the most. That's Beautiful. Your intimacy circle.
Yes.
Now, I'll further explain that in just a second. But we tend to have the tendency to go from the world straight into the intimacy, and we skip these steps.
That's, mm-hmm.
Now, intimacy, we need to think about there's 4 types. You do have the physical, which is obvious intimacy, the sexual side of things. But in this inner bullseye circle of intimacy, we forget that there's spiritual connectivity to intimacy.
100%.
You experience this when you pray with your partner out loud or in prayer together with someone. It creates something wholesome that's there.
Yes.
Then you have emotional intimacy that you're able to connect with. And then from the emotional, what about the intellect?
Yes.
The intellectual intimacy that you can. So there's 4 types of intimacy. And you can have all 4 with this partner, but just like darts, right? When you're throwing that dart, you're trying to be intentional about the bullseye. And that's what Kenya and I are trying to help our audience and viewers to understand, is that we want to hit the bullseye in our relationships of having whatever intimate level that you want to have and connectedness, but it has to be with intentionality, because playing darts, there's a form, there's a practice to hit the bullseye.
It's exactly right. It is. And the practice comes with decision. Okay. I'm just telling you right now, the practice you can't practice something that you haven't decided to be great at. Motherhood and fatherhood, in my opinion, is the greatest common ground of practice all those skills. And I believe this is why we got put on a family, in a family that have different personalities and different dynamics, because it's training ground for the world. If you can't get along right here when you're growing up, do you really feel like you're going to be great with your girlfriends if you are treating your sister that way, and vice versa, So the intimacy of the family that I chose to cultivate and plan into my children this is the greatest gift of free will. I can tell you to be kind all day long, but if you don't stop your mouth from moving when you feel that there's rage coming up and you feel frustrated and you're about to say something that could be hurtful, then it doesn't matter what I say, because in your sovereignty, God has given you free will. Period. So this is a season where people overspend. I don't care how your budget is. Overspend because you walk into a store, you find something is on sale, you're not even looking, but in the back of your brain, you feel like, ooh, I think I manifested this because I've always wanted, and now it's on sale. And I believe that perhaps female more than male, we come home like, honey, you don't believe how much I saved. Honey goes, in my experience, you just spent $200. Ooh, but it could have been $600. I saved $400. You know that dance, right?
Of course.
You know what I'm talking about. It's just so precious. I love being a female. This is like classic. And I am one of them, by the way. I totally do that.
So I'm going to chase a rabbit real quick. Men.
Sure.
Men. I'm speaking to you. I don't care what time of the year is. Observe your wife. Listen to her words. If she says, I went to a store and I like this, but I didn't get it, you better go get it and save it for later, just because gifts, birthday, whatever you want to do with it. Pay attention to your wife, because she will be so in love and enamored because you thought about her, that you paid attention to what she was saying. So that's sometimes right. Men, if you're clueless about what to get her this year, I hope you paid attention throughout the year.
I just love it so much that even if you didn't pay attention, Steve, I'm just locking arms with you throughout the year. I hope and pray that in this moment, if you hear that, start listening now.
Oh,
carry on.
Yes.
You still have time. She's going to give you the clues. There's a lot of things that's going to show up.
So there are some, at least 7 things that I want to give our audience in regards to being able to be intentional.
Yes.
You've already hit on one. And the one that I picked up on is slow down before you speak. Pause before reacting. Ask, will my words build connection or create distance? Because intentionality means choosing responses that protect relationship over ego.
Yeah.
And how often during this time of the year of commercialism of Christmas that we lost that true spirit. And number 2, and you can expand on this too, is schedule what matters the most. Time reveals truth. And if something is important, but it's not scheduled, like connection, prayer, date night, rest, whatever, it gets lost in distraction. And how much distraction do we have? I mean, all the lights and Christmas decorations and things, I think that is, it just causes ADHD to go all over the place.
Yeah.
So we need intentionality demands a calendar of what we loved and claim to value.
110%. This is reminding me, Steve, of every dynamic of committed relationships, partnerships, marriage. If you say you want to be with that person, then you're telling, in the other words, I'm committed to you. I want to be with you. You're important to me. And if you don't make time, it's contradiction energy. It's contradiction energy. You can say you're important to me, and the person feels that she or he is in the bottom of the list, or worst, I don't even make the list, right? The house make the list, the dogs make the list, the kids make the list, other people makes the list, the work makes the list. And it's not that if there's something left, sometimes there's nothing left, because that is not a habit to prioritize what you say it's important. And I'm not shaming anyone. I'm actually looking in the mirror. I've been married for 20 years. And habits kick in. If you have any amount of kid, 1, 3, 7, I don't care, anything in the middle, you will feel pull. Oh, by the way, dogs included, because they take a lot. Yeah, walking, the commitment. Try not to walk your dog and see what happened in the house. The energy accumulated. So the dog will always make the list. Does your partner always make the list? And don't get me started on the past. I don't want to hear about the past. I love you. I love you, listeners, and I love you, Steve, and I love me. Past means nothing. If you're hearing this and something just got activated inside of you, put it on the list now.
You're hitting on 3 other topic things that I have out of what can help people to be intentional. And one is lead with curiosity, not assumption.
Yes.
Intentional listening replaces judgment with empathy. And so instead of saying, why did you do that? Ask, can you help me understand what you were feeling when this happened?
Yeah.
I know that seems awkward sometimes to a lot of people because we jump in. Why did you do that? Become judgmental. Ask a kid that. Why? I don't know. Lie, blame, excuse every time. But why brings out a already judgmental statement that I know what you did, I'm ready to pounce on you type thing. And so if we can assume with innocence, can you tell me what just happened?
Yeah.
And so with that, the other thing is like you were talking about walking the dogs and things like that. It takes commitment. So create daily rituals of connection. When we put into practice small repeated acts, it creates emotional safety.
I love that.
Being intentional might mean, can you spend 5 minutes in the kitchen with morning coffee together? Or can you do a nightly prayer together? Even a 15 to 20 minute or 20-second hug. I mean, I couldn't hug for 20 minutes. I might, but No,
20 minutes is too much. Listen, 20-second hug, Steve.
Yes.
Not just creates the intimacy of being present, the breath. How many breaths do you think you have together in 20 seconds? I'm going to say at least 10. Creating 10 breaths together, organic, heartbeat on heartbeat. I call those heart hugs, by the way. Heart hug, like not side hug, heart hug.
Heart hug. Oh, for sure.
It actually strengthens your immune system.
It does. And, research has found too, by cuddling or whatnot, sometimes your hearts will sync together.
Yes.
Because of that. And so when you think about that piece, it's do we guard what enters the home? In other words, be intentional about your words. Be intentional about what media and energy comes into your home, because sometimes we can get overloaded this time of year. So what we allow in our homes, it shapes and grows within. So protect the peace as if it was sacred.
Yeah.
Because peace within the home it is. And, sometimes in this environment, when we're not intentional, we become reactive state.
Yes.
And so that's where, when I think about this piece that I want you to think about too, is what ways can we reflect and realign as a couple? Because we do get focused on kids. We do get focused on daily life. We get focused on, oh my gosh, I gotta make my Christmas bonus or whatever. And we start hyper focusing on our work. We already see, playwrights like, Scrooge and those things. And so ask yourself weekly, do a couples check-in if necessary, be intentional, and ask yourself, did I love with intention? Or did I react from emotion? Because to me, growth requires awareness, and awareness requires reflection. What do you think about that for intentionality?
Oof. I don't even know where to start, Steve. There's so much gold in everything you just shared. But if I would echo one of my mentors' statement. Just flag statement, how you doing things, how you do everything. So you don't even need to, this is a busy season, right? You don't even need to sit down and contemplate and meditate and journal. Ooh, I wonder how my relationship is. Just take a couple breaths and look around. Just look around. So if how you do one thing is how you do everything, do you have cobwebs in your home? You probably have cobwebs in your relationships. You know, have you noticed, and I'm speaking to everyone, including myself, how clutter attracts clutter? I tell my kids, do not put anything in the island. I don't care what it is, because if you sit one thing, I'm going to turn and will be 20 things in. Have you noticed that? It's crazy. No, you live by yourself up until now. We'll see what happens next year. But anywho, it is a pattern. It is a material pattern. If you put something in the corner will clutter. This is why when we're cleaning or decorating or just Google that if you don't believe me. But I know you believe me because I just felt chills in my body when I say that. I put things in the wall. Don't park in the floor, right? Find a home. If you don't find a home, the floor will become a home of it and everything else. And then you can apply that to everything in your work, things you're avoiding, they're putting in the corner, in your relationships, especially your intimate relationship. In my many conversations, and I know we're going to have a podcast about marriage because I just turned 20 years of marriage. I've noticed that the cobwebs calls for me to be courageous, to speak, to call in the elephant in the room, to actually drop the walls out of my heart and allow Kenya to be seen deeper by Kenya, not just by my husband and my children, other people. But the intimate relationship, the primary relationship, always reflects what's going on deep inside of me, my gifts and my shadows. It calls out everything. That's why, in my opinion, people get in and out of relationships so fast, because it's so uncomfortable to see the shadows. You like seeing the gifts, the jewelry, the hair. So people get addicted to dating in and out, because that is the state of the mirror. That would be a great podcast for another time. But by the time you are in a 10-year relationship, in a 20-year relationship, that you have 20 Christmas together, things get a little bit more, hey, are you going to see this? It gets in your face. Are you going to see this, or are you going to get out?
You know what I want to do, because we're at our close here. You know, the last one that I want to help our listeners to understand is to live your values out loud. When you think about what Kenny and I are coming across as, we're professionals, but here's the thing, we're not perfect. Intentionality is not about perfection, but alignment. Are you creating an alignment with your actions, your tone, your time? And it should reflect what your heart claims to believe.
Beautiful.
Intentionality is not about doing everything right. It's about living in your right alignment within your values, your relationships, and the truth of who you're becoming.
That's right.
So when you think about this time, the world seems imperfect, but that's why we had a perfect Savior to be born this year, to create the imperfect to perfect. But to be perfect with Him in God, in Christ, is to have an alignment with Him. And so it's about being intentional in alignment with others. What good does it do to be intentional about hanging on to anger, when this is the time of year to be intentional about forgiveness and love? And I tell you, you know, loving has a lot more power of peace and intentionality than hate and anger. And so until next time, take care and God bless.
So much love.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.